Welcome back, everybody, to the Cleveland Guardians franchise here on MLB The Show 22. As it stands now, we're currently halfway through the month of May here in season number 5, and the team has been pretty solid this year as we're currently 28-17 in a close AL Central. In the last episode, our most notable game was certainly this one, in which we beat the Twins 26-6. No, your eyes are not deceiving you. We scored 26 runs. We had 9 homers. We had 10 different players drive in runs. And all of Minnesota's pitchers were a hot pile of garbage. Ricky Watkins also made his major league debut, but obviously that got overshadowed by the historic offensive performance. The story with our offense has been our lack of power throughout the season. We've hit for good average, we've hit for good on-base percentage, but we're not consistently hitting extra base hits and home runs. The pitching has been a total mixed bag. It's been very inconsistent, very up and down, much like last season. I think our pitching might be even worse than last year, and I think our pitching is ultimately what costed us last season from winning a World Series. So that is a little bit concerning, but I still want to see things play out over the next couple of months before the trade deadline. Let's simulate up to this series in Baltimore against the Orioles. So we play against the Rays, Yankees, and Reds. We would lose 2 of 3 against the Rays. We did score 14 in the last one. Alvaro Pena with 2 homers driving in 7 runs. Busy day for him as Hunter Green pitched in that one. He's been kind of disappointing lately. We won 2 of 3 against the Yankees and then lost both to the struggling Reds, including this wild game. We were down 5-1 going into the bottom of the 9th, in which we scored 4 to tie it up. Then both teams scored 5 runs over the next 3 innings. And then Cincinnati put up a 6 spot in the 16th inning. So a total just wild game that we ultimately were unable to win against a pretty bad Reds team who has played a little bit better over the last month or so. But we should not have gotten swept, even though it was only 2 games. Of the 16 runs, only half of them were earned. I think the error by Jose Ramirez really played a big part in that. So let's hop into this series here against the Orioles. I want to look at this first game. John Means gets to return to Baltimore, where he pitched for many years, and we get a look at one of their better pitchers in Grayson Rodriguez. The Orioles have been pretty bad for a while, and it seems like they're finally starting to play some good baseball, as they're currently a little bit over 500, well within the race to win the AL East, or if nothing else, grab a wild card in what looks like a very deep American League. Anthony Rendon is now on the Orioles as we take a look at both lineups. Some familiar names from the Orioles series we had last year, including Louis St. John Jr., the son of Channel legend Louis St. John. Here's Grayson Rodriguez, the former top prospect for the Orioles, who's really figured some things out this year with a 3.66 ERA and a 1.12 whip. He starts with Zane Raleigh at the top of the order. He draws a walk on the outside changeup, so Cleveland will start the game with an early base runner. That'll bring up George Valera, who quietly is hitting .395 as he gets plunked on the kneecap. Is this some Dan Campbell type of stuff? So now there's 2 runners aboard here, nobody out. Great start to the game for the Guardians as Ketel Marte goes down looking at the four-seam fastball. He appears to be frustrated with the call behind the plate by the umpire. That'll bring up Jose Ramirez now, 1-2, and he swings and misses at the fastball. Good pitch by Rodriguez. It looks like Cleveland might not be able to drive these guys in, but Kyle Lewis has other plans as he hit this one high and deep and a left, and it is gone. 3-run homer for Kyle Lewis, and the Cleveland Guardians take a 3-0 lead. Kyle Lewis continues to play great baseball this year to put the Guardians ahead early. The lefty, John Means, is on the bump for Cleveland. He's been pretty average this year with a 4.22 ERA and a 1.25 whip. Not bad, but not great either as he faces off against Ali Booker, the shortstop, who goes down on the fastball to start things off for the first out of the inning. The switch hitter, Drew Waters, is up next, and he goes down chasing the sweeping curve. What a great pitch by John Means, showing off his excellent breaking ball for the second out of the inning. Let's go bottom 2. Here's Louis St. John Jr., like father, like son. This one is high and deep in its center, and it is gone for a home run. We saw his pops, Louis St. John, hit many home runs in our Orioles franchise last year, over 1,000 in his career to be specific. And Louis St. John Jr. has a very bright future with this team. Maybe he won't be as good as his father, but still very good. Adley Rutschman, he strikes out, another legend from our Orioles franchise last year. Ketel Marte up here in the third. He gets a single into center. Just the second base hit of the game for Cleveland. Most of these balls have not been put in play. You had the Kyle Lewis home run earlier, but most of Cleveland's at-bats have been walks, like this one, or strikeouts. So there's 2 runners on here now for Cleveland as they look to add to their lead. Now runners on the corners, 2 away for Jesus Sanchez. He gets plunked. That's the second batter to get hit by a pitch today, so maybe you got to watch out a little bit. The bases are now loaded for Josh Bell as that pitch is well inside and nearly hit him. Okay, maybe there's something going on here. I'm not sure what the deal is. Then 2-2, he looks at a changeup pretty much right down the middle. I don't know what he was waiting for, but yeah, he probably should have swung there. So that'll wrap up the third. Still a 3-1 ball game in favor of Cleveland as the Guardians lead the bases loaded. In the bottom of the third, Heston Kjerstad, another player who we know quite well from the Orioles franchise last year, he goes down looking. Let's go bottom 4 now. Same score. Drew Waters is up. Ketel Marte does a nice job of deflecting the ball, but Waters is still safe at first for a single. So that'll give the Orioles a base runner, and that'll bring up the veteran Anthony Rendon, who hits it high and deep in a left field right at the corner, and it will deflect off the foul pole. That's a home run. Tie game at 3. Anthony Rendon barely gets that one out of the park at 337 feet. The Orioles recently changed their left field fence. They moved it back and they moved it up, but the foul pole's at the same spot, and Rendon got awfully lucky. Into the 5th now, Ketel Marte goes down swinging. Jose Ramirez up with 2 away. He's going to fly this one into left, and it is caught, presumably ending Grayson Rodriguez's day. Not a bad performance for G-Rod. He struggled early, allowing 3 in the first, but he only allowed 2 base hits in his entire outing. John Means still in for Cleveland. He'll make it through the 5th with ease as David Bodie flies out to right. I assume that's the last we'll see of Means. Just like Rodriguez, Means finishes with 5 innings, 3 earned runs, and will likely be down to the bullpens from here on out. Logan Allen, the former Guardian, is into the game. He was a former pretty highly regarded prospect who didn't really work out. He's getting another opportunity here in the Orioles bullpen where he has been serviceable as he faces off against Kyle Lewis. He's going to belt that one up the middle for a base hit. Good start for Cleveland, who only got 2 hits off of Grayson Rodriguez within that 5-inning span. One of which, of course, was the 3-run homer by this gentleman right there, Kyle Lewis. The shortstop, Dansby Swanson, is up here as a pinch hitter. He strikes out on the low circle change, that one in the dirt below his knees. Probably shouldn't have swung at it. 2 away now for the lefty killer, Ramon Ramiro, who hits it in the left, and Louis St. John Jr. cannot make the play. Like his pops, he's a pretty poor defender. And ironically, for those who don't know, Louis St. John Sr. was the original lefty killer, and he was quite a bit better than Ramon Ramiro. Alvaro Pena flies it into center with 2 away. Pena also coming in off the bench as he's unable to make a big play, and it's caught to wrap up the inning. No score despite 2 runners aboard, and that'll bring us to the bottom of the 6th as we get a look at Alex Vesia. He's been pretty bad so far in 10 innings with an ERA currently at 6.10. He'll face off against Drew Waters, who goes down looking on the circle change. That was a pretty nice pitch. I'm surprised Waters didn't take that one for the second out of the inning. Anthony Rendon's going to take this one into right center field. That one looks like it could go for extra bases. Jesus Sanchez gets over to it quickly, but not before Rendon strolls into second for a double. And so the Orioles have a runner in scoring position for LSJ Jr. We'll see if Louis St. John can make a play here as he draws a walk. Not a bad at bat. And now there are 2 runners aboard and a big opportunity for the young catcher, Adley Rutschman. Pops this one up into the infield. Ketel Marte should make the play. So both teams with productive 6th innings, getting base runners on and not doing anything with them as it remains tied at 3 going into the 7th for George Valera. Logan Allen still in the game, lefty on lefty crime as Valera belts that one up the middle. Nice play at second, though, to get the out. That one looked like a hit, and Valera gave a good hustle, but the second baseman makes a really nice defensive play. Ketel Marte draws a walk, so Cleveland gets a runner aboard here for Jose Ramirez, who's been pretty quiet, 0 for 2. Ramirez hits this one high and pretty deep in a right center field, back at the track at the wall. It is caught. So Cleveland is unable to score. They still have not gotten on the board since the first inning, as this game remains tied at 3. Camilo Duvall is in for the Guardians. Last year he was not great, but this year he's right back to form as he starts off strong with a strikeout against Jonathan Schoop. Tyler Freeman, the former Guardian, belts it down the line. Jose Ramirez makes a nice play for the second out of the inning. Good defense. And then Kjerstad goes flying on the slider. What a pitch by Camilo Duvall with a quick 1-2-3 inning, and that'll bring us to the 8th. Dansby Swanson is up at the plate. He will go down on the curveball. Logan Allen never really developed, but he does have a great breaking ball, showing it on that play to get the final out of the inning. As that'll bring us to the bottom of the 8th. Same score. Duvall remains in the game as he strikes out David Bodie on the fastball for the first out of the inning. Ali Booker will then single into right. Got to assume Duvall has a pretty short leash because he's already pitched for an inning and a third now as he faces off against Drew Waters. With Booker headed for second, he's safe despite a quick throw behind the dish by Luis Campusano. So now there's a runner on scoring position here as Drew Waters strikes out on the fastball for the second out of the inning. Big play there by Duvall. Anthony Rendon is now up. He draws a walk. 2 on, 2 away, and a huge opportunity for Louis St. John Jr., and as he hits this one pretty nicely into right center, but Jesus Sanchez should be under it to make the play. Going into the 9th inning, we've got ourselves a good one here in Baltimore, as this one is knotted up at 3. We'll see if either team can win this game in the 9th or if we'll be headed to extras. Ramon Romero leads the inning off. He goes down on the curveball. Again, Logan Allen's breaking balls tonight have been so nasty. He has completely caught all of these Cleveland batters off guard. With 2 away, Zane Rowley hits it nicely into right. That one trapped in the little corner, helping Rowley get to second easily with a double. So Cleveland is a runner in scoring position, and a huge opportunity here for the number 2 hitter, George Valera, who's been pretty quiet today, but he's been great all year. Count is full, and Valera looks like he's going to pop this one up into left. That probably would have been a ball had he let it go, so he could have drawn a walk hypothetically, but it doesn't happen as St. John makes the play. Into the bottom of the 9th, James Karinchak checks into the game. He also has been pretty mediocre with an ERA currently above 6 as Jonathan Schoop draws a walk with 1 away. So the Orioles get their winning runner now on base for Tyler Freeman. The former Guardian strikes out on the fastball for the second out of the inning. And so that will bring up Heston Kjerstad, who gets that one by Jose Ramirez for a single into right. 2 on, 2 out. The potential winning run is in scoring position, and they're actually going to bring out a pinch runner for Kjerstad, which is odd because he's at first. Doesn't really matter because the following batter grounds out to first. Jose Ramirez makes the play. So through 9 innings, we do not have a winner. This game is tied at 3, and we are headed to extras. Cleveland still has not scored since the first inning of this game as Jake Cousins is in for Baltimore. 5.35 ERA on the year. Remember, with the extra innings rule, there's a runner on second as Ketel Marte leads the inning off. He hits this one well into center field, and it is gone. 2-run homer for Ketel Marte, and for the first time since the first inning, the Guardians are back on the board, and it's now 5-3. Cleveland's lucky. All they needed was that big first inning to put themselves in a position to go to extras, and now they're in a position to win the game. The following 3 batters would do nothing as Sanchez finishes it off with a ground out to third. But a good inning. Ketel Marte hits a 2-run shot. Time to bring in the closer, Emmanuel Clase, who's been even better than normal this year, which says quite a bit. 17 of 18 on save opportunities, but his inning will not start off good as Ali Booker hits that one off the top of the wall and right. The outfielder's having trouble getting to it as Booker strolls into second with an RBI double. It's now 5-4. Tying run is on second with nobody out, and he's a speedster. Drew Waters hits this one nicely into left, and Rowley makes a tough grab. Booker, however, will advance to third, so now the tying run is 90 feet away from home. And if this ball's put in play, this game should be tied. Rendon strikes out on the slider. Huge pitch by Emmanuel Clase, and now it comes to Louis St. John Jr. Wouldn't this be poetic for him to finish off the game? Well, he does, but as a strikeout on the cutter. The Guardians win this one by the score of 5-4 in 10 innings. Quite an exciting matchup here in Baltimore, but the Guardians were able to get the job done and start this series off with a win. There were some good things about this game, and there were some bad things. The offense had a big first inning with a 3-run homer by Kyle Lewis. They then sat around and twiddled their thumbs, doing nothing for 8 innings before the 10th, where they had the Ketel Marte homer. Baltimore's offense wasn't a whole lot better. They only finished with 7 hits. We only finished with 6. So really just not a whole lot of consistent base runners for either team, especially them, because at least us, we were able to draw a lot of walks. The Orioles hit for pretty good power. St. John and Rendon both went deep, but they were unable to come up clutch there in the bottom of the 10th, despite having the tie and run in scoring position and nobody out. They also had an opportunity to win the game in the 9th, which they as well did not. So we'll simulate through the rest of May. We played the struggling Blue Jays, and that'll bring us to June, a series against San Diego. During that series, we come to the MLB draft, as we did pretty well during the little stretch that we simmed. We swept Toronto, trying to get revenge from the ALCS last year. We did lose a game against the Padres, and so that'll bring us to the MLB draft. And since this series is obviously winding down with MLB The Show 23 coming out soon, we're not going to spend as much time on the draft because we're probably not going to see many of these guys in the big leagues. Marcell Houston, a left-handed pitcher from Delaware, will be our first-round pick. Bryant Rodriguez, a first baseman, will be our competitive balance round A pick. In the second round, we'll be going with third baseman Doug Merrifield. In the third round, I ended up going with a starting pitcher, Luis Mateo. Interestingly, the 4 players we drafted so far today were the 4 players I was considering in the first round, and they all ended up falling to my next few picks, so this draft really could not have worked out much better for us. In the fourth round, we ended up going with catcher Brendan Guevara. Doesn't hurt to add more catching depth within the organization. In the fifth round, we decided to take a flyer on left fielder Daniel Rosales. We haven't really scouted him, but he's a switch hitter, so maybe he ends up being pretty good, maybe he doesn't. And then in round 6, we had the last pick, Mr. Irrelevant. We get to choose between 5 players. They all kind of suck, but Steven Villasmil might be the most intriguing of the bunch. He's 5'7", so he's representing us short kings, and that'll wrap up the draft. As we take a look at the draft recap, the first 4 players we drafted, all of whom I thought about in the first round, ended up being quite good. Interestingly, our top pick, Marcell Houston, might be the worst of the group. Bryant Rodriguez, the first baseman, looks like a total stud. Luis Mateo has 89 potential, and even Doug Merrifield could be an early big league contributor within the next couple of years. So let's go back to the big league club now. We have a series coming up against the Houston Astros, who have been atop the AL West for pretty much a decade. This year, they're not doing too hot, so we'll send that game against the Padres. We lose that series 2-1. I do want to take a look at the Astros, see what the problem is here. I know they lost Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker in free agency to Minnesota and Pittsburgh, of all places, respectively. But even so, I want to see what the issue is here because the Astros have always bred talent, and they're just not winning ball games this year. They're currently in 4th place in the Western Conference. We've got this goofball throwing the first pitch. Wow, right down the middle. That's a strike. She'd do better than half the guys in our bullpen if we're being completely honest. So if she's interested in pitching for us, we would gladly accept her. There's a look at both lineups. Jose Altuve still here in Houston, even though the rest of the core is gone. I think Alex Bregman is still here too. Hunter Greene is starting for the Guardians. I also want to look at what's wrong with him because he's not pitching that well this year with a 4.81 ERA. Hector Salamanca is up for the Astros, and he singles into center. Salamanca is one of the younger guys within this organization. I think they have a pretty good group of talented players in their farm system. They're just not really winning games this year. Bregman grounds into an inning-ending 4-6-3 double play. Good work by the Cleveland infield to turn 2. Pretty strong first inning for Hunter Greene. On the mound for the Astros is Michael Kopech, the former White Sox pitcher who Houston signed in the offseason. He's been pretty mediocre this year with a 4.34 ERA and a 1.46 whip. Again, not bad, but not great either. Zane Rowley bloops it into left. That's going to drop. The left fielder has a hard time getting to it, so Rowley's going to head over to second, where he is safe for an unlikely double. Rowley is in scoring position now. That'll bring up Ramon Romero. He hits this one into the opposite field. That one's going to drop fair. The right fielder has a little trouble getting to it, so Romero will go to second. Zane Rowley scores with no issue, and the Cleveland Guardians are quickly on the board as they lead this one 1-0. Let's go to the second. Duke Butler leads it off for the Astros. He draws a walk. Duke Butler's been with this team for a few years. He's a really, really good young player. The true Carlos Correa replacement with Jeremy Pena not really developing. But Duke Butler is out trying to head to second as he's gunned down by Luis Campusano. Josiah McKinley, the catcher, grounds it to third. Backhanded throw by Ramirez is in time. What a play by Jose Ramirez to get the out as we go into the bottom of the second. George Valera leads it off for the Guardians. He's cooled off a little bit, still hitting .356, which is insane, as he draws a walk. That'll bring up Josh Bell. Count is full. He thinks he draws a walk, but the umpire has other plans, and he calls him out on strikes. So Bell will not join Valera on base as we go to the third. Still 1-0. Aguilar grounds it to Ramirez. What a play. Another great defensive play by Jose Ramirez, who's had quite a few highlight defensive plays really over the last season or so. I don't know why they're all coming here with him being an older player. Zane Rowley again bloops it into left. That one will drop. Rowley again tries to head for second, and this time it backfires as he's gunned down. The Astro player learned his lesson clearly, and Zane Rowley gets caught trying to be too aggressive. Bottom four now, still 1-0. It's been a pitcher's duel here. Both Kopech and Hunter Green are pitching pretty well today, but Jose Ramirez does start the inning getting plunked, so he is on base now. That'll bring up Kyle Lewis, 2-2 pitch. He checks his swing on the fastball. I don't think he went around, but I think the pitch was in the zone, so I think that's the call. George Valera is now up. He goes down on the curveball. A filthy pitch by Michael Kopech, who's got some nasty stuff. Duke Butler goes down swinging on the low and outside changeup. What a great pitch by Hunter Green, who's looking like his last year self. Josiah McKinley singles into center, just the second base hit of the day for the Astros. It seems like every time Houston gets a base runner, they're thrown out in some way later in the inning. Jesus Aguilar draws a walk, so they finally have multiple guys aboard. That'll bring up Pierre St. Juste, who will ground out to short. 5 scoreless innings for Hunter Green. He's having himself a day as Cleveland holds on to their 1-0 lead, and we go into the bottom half of the inning. Alvaro Pena leads it off for the Guardians. He hits this one high and deep into left field, and that one goes off the wall. Pena rounding first, heads to second for a double, and so Cleveland is a runner in scoring position here with nobody out, and a great opportunity to get back on the board. That'll bring up Zane Rowley, who's had a busy day today, good and bad, and Rowley draws a walk on the outside curveball. So now there's runners on first and second. Kopech is taken out of the game. He'll be replaced by Austin Gomber, and this decision is pretty odd to me because Gomber is a lefty, and look who's up at the plate, Ramon Romero. He kind of jams into the slider, hits it into right, and it is caught. Pena's going to look to head to third on the sacrifice, but he is out of there. The Astros gun him down. What a throw out in right field to throw him out as it remains 1-0 into the sixth. Avisail Garcia leads the inning off for Houston, belts it down the line and fair as Garcia slides into second with a double. So Houston's got a real opportunity to get somebody on the board. Garcia now at third for Hector Salamanca. He will ground over to Ramon Romero, who makes the play, but Avisail Garcia scores, tying the game at 1. Alex Bregman then goes down looking on the changeup. So Hunter Green finally allows a run, and that poses the question if Cleveland keeps him in for another inning or not. Ketel Marte leads off the sixth, and he leads it off with a bang! Solo home run into left field, and Cleveland not winning ends up being pretty short-lived as they are right back on top with a solo homer by Marte, his 12th of the year, and the Guardians are now ahead 2-1. Beautiful swing by Ketel Marte, who hasn't played as well as he has in recent years, but he is still looking like he's probably going to make another All-Star team. Jose Ramirez is now up. He hits that one in a right for a single. Cleveland's offense, again, has been pretty mediocre today, but they're starting to really get something going here in the sixth with the homer and now the base hit. Maybe the Astros shouldn't have taken Kopech out of the game in replace of Gomber. George Valera with one away singles into right. So now there's 2 on and a real opportunity for the Guardians to really make some noise on this lead. Josh Bell has struggled against lefties really since last season. We'll see what he can do here on a full count pitch. And Bell rips it nicely into center for a base hit. Jose Ramirez will head home. He scores. Valera is safe at third. Runners on the corners. 3-1 ball game off the RBI single by Josh Bell. Count is full now, 2 away. Runners on the corners for Luis Campusano. I'm surprised the Guardians did not put a pinch hitter in. They normally would in this situation as Campusano strikes out. So Gomber gets out of the inning, and so it is 3-1 going into the 7th. Hunter Greene still in the game, and I think that proves to be a mistake as Duke Butler leads the inning off with a homer into right center field. So I think we have seen the last of Hunter Greene today. Duke Butler with his 13th home run of the year, and the Astros cut the lead to 1 as it's now 3-2. Both offenses really waking up these last couple of innings. Taj Bradley is now on the mound for Cleveland. He started the season off slow, but we didn't panic. We saw his whip was pretty low. We decided to keep him in the big leagues, and it's paying off as he's really figuring some things out. But he does allow an early single here to Josiah McKinley with 1 away. McKinley is aboard. We'll see if the Astros can look to tie this game or even more take the lead. But Jesus Aguilar goes down on a low curveball. Filthy pitch by Taj Bradley, who's really pitching well this last month or so. Pierre St. Juste will join Aguilar in strikeout land. Good work from Bradley, but the Astros do score a run, making it 3-2. Hector Neris is in for Houston. He's had a pretty rough year with an ERA above 6 as he faces off against Ramon Ramiro. Ramiro belts this one into right. Feels like all of Ramiro's hits have gone into right today as he's going to look to head for second. Cleveland has been very aggressive on the base passes today, and as you can see, Ramiro's in a little bit of a pickle as he's tagged out by Jesus Aguilar. Let's go to the 8th now. Camilo Doval in for the Guardians. Still pitching very well. His ERA has gotten even lower now. It's below 2 at 1.89. He faces off against Salamanca, who gets that one past the glove of Jose Ramirez for a single into left. So Salamanca is aboard. Big opportunity for the number 3 hitter, Alex Bregman, the 2-2, as it looks like Salamanca's going to head for second, and he's out of there! Luis Campusano throws him out. What a play by Luis Campusano behind the plate. As we go to the bottom of the 8th, Cleveland leads 3-2. Kyle Crick is into the game for the Astros. He's been pretty bleh this year, of a 5.4 ERA. That's about 9 runs and 15 innings of work as George Valera goes down looking on the outside fastball for the second out of the inning. Josh Bell is now up. He drove in a run on his last at-bat. This time he strikes out on the fastball. So Crick gets through the inning with no problem. 3-2 going into the 9th. You know what time it is, everybody. It's Emmanuel Clase time. Clase still has only blown 1 save this year. He's 19 of 20. The ERA has gotten up a little bit. It's now at 1.9, but he has still been fantastic this year. Alex Bregman never gotten it bad in the last inning, so he leads this one off, hitting it into the gap. Valera and Pena did not communicate with each other. They both thought the other person was going to get to the ball, and because of that, Alex Bregman advances to third with a triple. Jalen Miller, another former Orioles franchise player, will come in to pinch run. The speedster's 90 feet away from home with nobody out. Clase's got to get out of the jam as he strikes out Duke Butler. That'll bring up Miguel Andujar. He goes down looking on the fastball. Clase might actually pull this off for a second game in a row. We saw him get out of the jam against Baltimore earlier today, and it looks like he might do it again. McKinley hits it into right. Going to be a tough play, but Pena makes the grab, and the Guardians win a close one. 3-2 is your final. When Bregman hit that triple, I thought we were doomed. I figured the Astros would score at least 1, but Clase strikes out the next 2 batters, then forces a fly out to ultimately win the game for the Guardians. What a player Emmanuel Clase is. He's a free agent in the offseason. He's going to command top dollar. Normally, I wouldn't want to give a reliever that type of money, but Emmanuel Clase has won one of the most impressive 5 to 6 year runs of a relief pitcher we've ever seen. It looks like he's going to make another all-star team. He's made it every single year in this series. He's never had a whip above 1 since we started this series, and I think his ERA has finished above 2 maybe once, so that's just incredible. The offense was solid, 3 runs, 10 hits, not great, normally not good enough to win you the game, but the pitching was very good. As it stands now, we're tied with the White Sox for first place in the division. The Twins are right in the race. The Tigers are really starting to play well. They've won 8 of their last 10, and the Royals aren't too far behind either. We'll simulate these last 2 games against Houston and then 3 in Kansas City. We end up going 4-1 as we sweep the Astros and win 2-3 in KC. So after that little 5-game stretch, that brings us to the rest of June, where we have a pretty easy schedule. The Angels are going to be tough. The Orioles are going to be tough. We have a big series late against Chicago, but those series is in the middle against like Arizona, Oakland, and Boston. Those teams are all pretty bad. As it stands now, we are back in first place in the division, but I really think this division race is going to be between at least 3 or 4 teams, and I think it's going to come down all the way to the final weeks of September. So that'll wrap up the episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.